Algebra of Wealth. What is the Algebra of Wealth?
So it's a retrospective on all the mistakes I made.
No, I mean, what is the
actual formula?
How do you make money? Yes.
Now, I wanted to insert me into the story, Ronnie. So the algebra. The first is focus. Try and find your talent, not your passion. Anyone who tells you to pursue your passion is already rich. Find something you're good at in an industry that has an employment rate above 90%. Side hustles mean your main hustle isn't working. Go all in on something. Then you want to talk about stoicism. Control the things you can't control. You can control your spending.
Okay, this is very complicated. How do I... Why...
How are we doing so far?
Why are people poor and who should we blame? That is... Whose fault is it that everyone is poor? Is it baby boomers? Is it foreigners? Is it Bitcoin? Is it the government? Whose fault is it?
Yes.
That we are poor?
Well, I think that essentially every fiscal policy in America over the last 20 or 30 years has been nothing but an elegant transfer of wealth from the young to the old. We transfer $1.5 trillion from young people to the wealthiest generation in history, seniors.
You can say it, boomers. You can say boomers, yeah.
The two biggest tax deductions, capital gains and mortgage interest. Who owns homes and stocks? People my age. Who makes their money from earnings and rent? People their age. So I think everything we do is nothing but an elegant transfer of wealth from young to old. People call them entitled. I think they're actually entitled to be enraged.
Wow. Okay. I love how you came in here. You're like, yeah, it's my fault that I'm rich and you're poor. But you can't do anything about it. But what can people do about it? I mean, first of all, kudos to you're the first boomer I've heard in the last decade to give young people some props, to be like, hey, it's not... Because all I've heard for the last decade is boomers yelling at millennials for being lazy and eating avocado. So, you're like a refreshing voice here.
Look, the average 70-year-old is 72% wealthier than they were 40 years ago. The average person under the age of 40 is 24% less wealthy. The child tax credit gets stripped out of the Infrastructure Act, $40 billion, with a $120 billion annual increase in cost of living adjustment for seniors flies right through.
Okay. So anytime I want to say boomers, I'll just link to this part of the video.
100%.
Hey, this is what this guy said. So, I love to continue making the case against boomers, but I also like to figure out, what can we do about it? Yeah, what can we do about it?
There's a variety of things. One, lower taxes on, put more money in the pockets of young people. Education's gone up fourfold. That was pretty popular. Yeah. Housing's gone up 4x, education's gone up 2x. Meanwhile, minimum wage, if it had just kept productivity up with productivity inflation, would have been $23 an hour, but it's $7.25. Okay. We need a series of policies that make it easier for people to get ahead. 60% of people aged 30 to 34 used to have kids. Now it's 27%. They're literally opting out of America. Mm-hmm. They look up, they look down, they see prosperity everywhere, and 210 times a day they get a notification of someone vomiting their faux wealth in their face. Mm-hmm. It's no accident that we are raising a generation of the most obese, anxious, depressed, suicidal generation in history. So...
Wait, you were doing so well there with the praising the young people. And you took a hard turn I just wasn't ready for. I'm sorry. Are we good or not? Is it our fault or not? But,
I do think it's our fault.
Okay, but besides being civically engaged and caring about the world, what can a young person do to make money?
Well, again, I think it's...
Nobody got that one, but it's all right. Because what you're describing is policies, right? And I think a lot of young people feel disenfranchised with voting, and so besides...
Well, agency. Everyone needs to have a sense of agency. You do have agency. One, recognize how fast time is going to go. If between the ages of 20 and 30, if you just save 3 to 6% of your salary, you're going to end up wealthy by the time you're my age. Recognize that time is going to go faster than you think. Diversify. And also recognize that your 20s is about workshopping. Don't be so hard on yourself. But also recognize you're going to live a lot longer than you think. And so just try to develop a savings muscle and put a little bit of money away in case you don't go double platinum or sell a business. Mm-hmm. Most of us, because our species hasn't lived past 35 for 99% of our time on this planet, we have trouble believing that you're going to be my age. That's why we're so horrified when we look in the mirror past 35. We're just not used to seeing it.
I'm kind of horrified looking in front of me right now. To be honest.
You just made my wife your best friend. Anyways, this is essentially start early, and so you can save, you can control your spending, spend less than you make, develop a savings muscle, and then really lean into your strengths and try and become great at something, and pick a non-vanity industry that has greater than a 90+% employment rate.
Okay, so your advice to young people is that the boomers are screwing you over. Try to vote people in who can hopefully reverse that a little bit.
Our elected officials are a cross between the Golden Girls and the Walking Dead. Yeah. The average age.
But that is true. That is true. But I'm asking you, as a person with more experience than me and much more well-read on this, do you feel like this is kind of like the last death grasp of the boomers trying to hold on? And if we just can wait them out another 5 years, we can regain control and balance things out, hopefully?
I think that's hopeful, but the average age is now the oldest elected populace of any democratic institution. What happens in a democracy if you're not forward-leaning like our ancestors and invest in the middle class? Old people have figured out they can vote themselves more money. Does a person, Speaker of the House, when she had her first child, Castro had just declared martial law in Cuba. 2/3 of houses did not have a TV. Does she really understand the challenges facing a 25-year-old single mother or a 22-year-old male who has a lack of economic or romantic prospects? The average age of Americans is 35. We need a representative democracy. We need more young people that will vote for money and make forward-leaning investments.
Man. Easier said than done when these boomers just won't die. They just won't die. They keep holding on making decisions.
That's
and they're
right.
like entrenched in decision-making positions, and they're lowering the capital gains tax. So net worth essentially compounds year
That's
after
right.
year.
So you get it. 92%. There's an incumbency rate of 95%, or between 92 and 95%. In addition, because of gerrymandering, we essentially send to Washington hard right crazies and hard left crazies who have one thing in common, and that is they're really old and they keep voting themselves more money.
Sure.
If we don't start investing in the future, democracy is literally going to collapse on itself.
Okay.
When we get to these levels of income inequality, they always self-correct through war, famine, and revolution. We need to do something about this.
Okay. So we'll be fine, is what you're saying. Is that
That's right.
So the solution is find people who speak this language and vote them in, right? Sounds like what you're...
We absolutely need a younger electorate, but we also need fiscal policies that do what our previous generations did and invest in the future. An investment in the middle class, technologies.
But as someone who speaks... No, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Sure.
as someone who speaks boomer...
Yeah.
When you talk to your fellow boomers and you tell them, like, you're kind of taking away the things that you benefited from.
Right.
Can we put them back in? How do you convince these old people to do that? You know what I mean? Like,
the key to progress, whether it was FDR or Teddy Roosevelt, is having a series of class traders. If you don't make these forward-leaning investments, the reality is people, you have your world of work, you have your world of friends, you have your world of kids. When something comes off the track with one of your kids, the whole world shrinks to that kid. So the question is, are we willing to make the same sort of forward-leaning investments that your father and our grandparents made in America moving forward? We have lost that sense of comedy of man. One solution that I think will help us get back to that is that I think we need mandatory national service such that we can develop more connective tissue and young Americans can meet people from other ethnic groups, other sexual orientation, and realize that they can build something great in the agency of others and not see each other as Republicans, not see each other as Democrats or trans or non-trans, but see each other as Americans and start making these forward-leaning investments that have made America great.
well, as a young person, thank you for trying to look after the next generation.
I appreciate that.
I hope more old people can be like you.
I appreciate that.
The Algebra of Wealth is available.